Hey everyone, welcome. We're going to get started just about now. Ooh, the music, okay. And can you all hear me over the music? We were testing it before and we were like, yeah, it's a good sound, but now I feel like it's a little bit loud.
Yes,
Oh, no,
we can. We can hear you well.
Oh, okay, nice. Okay, so we're going to get started in just a few minutes. We wanted to, well, I guess this is me starting. We're going to take a moment to sort of set the space here. And so what you're coming to today is our first Wednesday, like talks, chats, casual conversations where we take questions, frequently asked questions that we've gotten from different training environments and from our coaching clients, and we put them into talks where we can share our experiences with you and then also hear from you about your experiences. And what we're also trying to do with these is build a community of like-minded individuals who really want to do equitable engagement and do it really well. And so that's why we sort of created this space. And today we're going to hear from Shakirah Jones, who is our youth programs coordinator. We're so excited to have her here with us. And Peace will also be presenting along with Shakirah. Peace is currently our data assistant, but she was previously in charge of RBA Thrives. Many of you know her in that role, and she's transitioned to a new role, and we're lucky to still have her. And with that, I will turn it over to Peace and Shakirah to give a little bit of an introduction about themselves and their roles now, and to start the presentation. So thank you so much for coming, everyone, and over to Peace and Shakirah.
Thank you, Dana. Oh, go ahead, Shakirah.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Shakirah Jones. I'm Virginia Community Voices Youth Programs Coordinator. Now I'll pass it off to Peace.
Thank you, Shakirah. As Dana mentioned, I have transitioned from the director of RBA Thrives into a role with Virginia Community Voice known as the Assistant Data Strategist. So I work more closely on our community I work more closely with our coaching and training side as far as the blueprint goes. So it's really interesting to kind of dip my toe into that role while also speaking about the role that I was once serving at a more full-time capacity. Excuse me, that was my phone. So yeah, thank you for coming to do First Wednesday with us. We're very happy that you all are here. We hope that you have anything that's going to make you more comfortable and present in this space, whether that's something to drink and or eat. And we just kind of want to set the space with an icebreaker. So Shakirah, would you mind dropping that into the chat? And if you feel comfortable reading it out loud.
Our icebreaker for today is if you could change one thing about the world, what would it be?
Yeah, so if you wouldn't mind, just because we have about 15 people on, we aren't gonna go around to each person, but if you wouldn't mind adding it into the chat, and then we'll just pick out a few here and there to read aloud. So if you could change one thing about the world, what would it be? And I'll start by sharing world peace. I had to think of something quick because I hadn't processed it earlier. Craig Arthur mentioned everyone would have what they need to thrive. Thank you, Craig, for sharing. Leah would change inflation. Yep, I feel that. Dana says safe housing for all. Lisa shares eradicating hunger issues via fruit and vegetables everywhere. Rachel Hefner with Virginia Organizing, Richmond chapter organizer, says they would make healthy and safe housing a right. Leah followed up inflation with things cost too much. So, yes, doubling down on that. I feel it. I feel it. I can't remember what I was buying not too long ago, and I was like, this is outrageous. I was at the grocery store, I'm sure. And I think I was with my sister, and we were just picking up some things, and we were like, this is, our dollars did not stretch far here. So yeah, if anyone else wants to drop into the chat their one thing, and then we will transition on. We have everyone from Gen Duel. Everyone would have access to free, accurate, and unbiased information without the threat of censorship. Wow, that one. Shakira, what's your one thing?
World hunger. I would change that about the world. Make sure nobody's hungry, nobody's starving.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you all for leaning in. We'll close the icebreaker with Sarah Barton, who shares a world in which communities and ecosystems can coexist and thrive together. Thank you, Sarah, for closing us off with that. Feel free to still utilize the chat as we're speaking today. I won't be moderating it as much just because Shakira and I are going to have more of a dialogue type of conversation, but Dana will be monitoring the chat and pausing us with questions or comments that just need to be addressed. And then we'll also have time at the very end for questions. So, yeah. All right. I think we can go to the next slide. So we have some topics of discussion here. I won't read them all because you'll see them on the next slide broken down, and you'll hear about it as well aloud. But definitely be ready to learn more about how we incorporate the youth and their voice in the behind the scenes process of our youth programs. And to kind of set the stage for anyone that isn't familiar, we're very grateful that you're here to share space with us and learn more about the programs that we offer to Southside Richmond, and then the training and coaching that we offer to all institutions, wherever they may be located. Excuse me. We have a youth leadership fellowship, which was recently established from our two youth programs in prior years, which were known as YEAR and ARCA. Shakira, would you like to share a little bit more about what YEAR and ARCA are to kind of set the stage for this conversation?
Yeah, I can do that. Years our youth empowerment through eviction research program, and ARCA is our reconciliation and civic advocacy program. Those are the two programs that we have under, which is now the Youth Leadership Fellowship. The ARCA lasts for a few months, and YEAR lasts all year.
Yes, and now the Youth Leadership Fellowship is year round as well. This is our first year having the Youth Leader Fellowship, so it's definitely still in the designing phase as we're actively implementing it as well alongside the students. But we're happy to answer any questions about that and the way the program flows as we continue. So yeah, whenever you're ready, we can go to the next slide. And I also wanted to share. I'll share it later, the link to our events on our website to learn more. All right. So, Shakira, please tell us more about how and why you got into this work.
I can start off with how I got into this work. I started way back in 2017 when it was still thriving cities. I was a community advocate, giving out surveys to the community to assess their need in their communities. And the reason why I got into this work is because I felt that it was important that all youth have a voice in the programs that they are participating in. I truly believe that youth have a fresh and new perspective on what actually works in the program. To me, youth voice is the most important thing there is when it comes to the development, planning, and success of any youth-based programs.
Wonderful. Thank you. And so, as Shakirah mentioned before, Virginia Community Voice was Virginia Community Voice. We were RVA Thrives. And we're just very grateful that Shakirah not only shared her space with us during that time of RVA Thrives, or Thriving Cities, excuse me, and then she came back and came on as our youth coordinator. So we're always grateful for that. Next slide, please. So we mentioned that we have one kind of umbrella youth program, and then there are two programs that take place under that space. So Shakirah, can you tell us a little bit more about how we work with youth to engage them in the design process?
Yes. We work to engage with youth to design our youth programs by first asking youth what they would like to see out of a youth program. We then take what they say and go back to the drawing board, comparing what we have and what the youth want. When we did survey data collection in 2017, we saw that there was a need for safety, and youth programs were a part of that need for safety. Safety in our communities includes safety for our youth. Youth play a crucial role in the development and design of the youth programs that we host. Things such as what time we meet, how often we meet, and the day of the week that we meet are determined by the youth. We try to craft our youth programs around the youth and their schedules, knowing that the youth have other obligations such as school, work, and family matters.
Thank you. And one really key example of like structuring our programs around like the youth prior obligations and our capacity doing community engagement is one of our youth programs is currently fully hybrid. Is fully online. And we have some times where we meet in person, but it's mostly online. But it's later in the day on a Wednesday, just because we know that the time right after school may be dedicated to homework. Some of our students have part-time jobs, and so that was just the time that they indicated would be best for them. Next slide, please. Thank you. So Shakirah, can you tell us a little bit more? So we talked about how we design the program. So after we are addressing this design phase, what does it look like to actually build out these youth programs?
We work with youth to build our youth programs by inviting those who have been in the programs to our planning meetings behind the scenes to plan out curriculum, food choices for in-person meetings, agendas, and some activities that we can do during these programs. These youth are called youth ambassadors who not only build our programs with us, they participate in those programs as well. And all youth are always compensated for their time, $20 per hour.
Yes. This one. Glad you see. Oh, welcome, Ms. Celeste. We're glad you're here. Yeah, so I think we can move on to the next slide as well. And then after we have designed, we've built, now we're implementing the program. So Shakirah's would you mind sharing a little bit more about that process?
We youth to implement our youth programs first by engaging past youth and new youth to join our programs and participate. We coordinate any guest speakers that we may have during the duration of the program and any outside facilitators that may have been involved in the program beforehand, such as our ARCA program. During our ARCA program, we have two well-known artists, Hamilton Glass, founder of Minden Walls, and Alfonso Perez Acosta, founder of a drawing table, co-facilitate with VAPC staff. We also compensate any guest speakers and co-facilitators for their time during the program. We, depending on whether the program is in person or virtual, start off with simple team building and trust building activities so that the youth feel more comfortable with their peers.
Thank you, Shakirah. And so, yeah, here on this slide, you can see visual representations of the two artists Shakirah mentioned we work with for one of our youth programs called ARCA. And these artists have been with us from the very beginning of ARCA, and they have their own organizations where they do murals and art projects around Richmond, Virginia. So it's always just a true pleasure and honor to have them in a space with our youth focusing art in Southside Richmond.
I have one more thing to say.
Yeah.
We have also, within the past year, established our Youth Leadership Fellowship, where young leaders lend their voices to listening, connecting, crafting, and reflecting phases on their and other programs alike within the RVA Thrives Blueprint process.
Yeah. Awesome. We have a question from Miss Les. I also saw in the chat, can you hear us now, Miss Les? See that her hand is up as well. We'll keep troubleshooting. I think there's also captions. Yeah. So I'll share that as well. Okay. All right, so let's go to the next slide. Okay. So Shakirah mentioned in the beginning why she is just really passionate about the work that she does as a youth coordinator. And so if you would speak a little bit more to that passion and why you feel it's important for us to even consider youth voice in the development of these processes.
We feel that it's important that youth build with us and have decision-making power during the designing, building, and implementation process of our youth programs, because we feel that youth always have important things to say. They have a fresh perspective on things that make them feel creative and what will make them want to continue a program. It is important that youth build with us not only in a programmatic way, but developmentally and an interpersonal relationship with us and their peers. It is essential that you feel comfortable working with us and that they feel comfortable being in a group of their peers. It is also important that youth have decision-making power during the designing, building, and implementation process of our youth programs, because youth are a vital part of any youth program. How would we know what's not working in a program if we didn't have the youth's input? How would we know what makes a program successful if we didn't have youth making those crucial decisions in the background? If it wasn't for the youth having that decision-making power during this process, then our youth programs wouldn't be as diverse and as measured as it is. By listening and incorporating the youth ideas, it's what's made our programs a success.
Agreed. Thank you. I see in the chat there's a question regarding making the PowerPoint presentation available. I'm just going to pose that into the space, and then maybe that can be one of our questions that we answer at the end for everyone. So thank you for raising that up. And then the next slide, please. So Shakira, with everything in life, there are pros and cons. And there are spaces where we are thriving and spaces where we have opportunity to grow. So would you mind sharing some of those learning things that we're kind of like still processing ourselves when it comes to youth engagement?
Yeah, when it comes to youth engagement, we have struggles, as every organization has their struggles while doing recruitment. We start off recruitment by first brainstorming which methods are the best for reaching out to you, whether it's via text message, email, phone call, or WhatsApp, depending on the youth's preferred method of contact. We usually share a flyer about our program with the youth that normally includes a QR code that the youth and their families can scan on their phone and fill out the application for our program. Also, we include my phone number and email on our flyers if the QR code isn't available for them, if that's not an option. We also reach out to youth-based organizations, schools, community centers, and other places that youth are most frequent to visit during their spare time. We have reached out to the following places: communities and schools, or CIS, Mayor's Youth Academy, Sacred Heart Center, Hall Street Library, Westover Hills Library, Art 180, Peter Paul Development Center, Groundwork RVA, and the following community centers: Hickory Hill, Belmead, Hillside Resource Center, Broad Rock Sports Complex, and TV Smith. We also have a Richmond Public Schools staff member working with us as a Latin community advocate. Youth are also compensated an additional $10 for any family or friends that they bring along to join our programs. The struggles that we have with recruitment are participation, retention, and keeping a steady form of communication with our youth. Our first struggle is youth retention, as after a program ends, we find it tough to engage 100% of the youth from the previous year's program. We usually receive tons of positive feedback from youth participating in our programs during our end of year youth survey process, with many students or participants saying that they would like to join the program again the following year. Even with this information and us following up with these youth, it is still tough to get full participation because of barriers such as family matters, school matters, or personal and work matters. Second, our second struggle is in recruitment is keeping a steady form of communication with youth. It's not that we don't keep in contact with the youth. In fact, we usually do monthly check-ins with the youth, updating them with any new program details or any other changes or programs or events that may be happening. We also keep up with youth and their families to give them a heads up on whenever our program starts back up the following year. It has been suggested to offer programs in the building of the schools following a young adult school day and to minimize the challenge of transportation, space, and possibly even food. We are doing more listening around this possibility.
Excellent. I think we can go to the next slide. So I'm seeing in the chat, I would be interested in seeing the types of questions you use in post-completion surveys. Just going to raise that up as well, and then that could be something we address at the end. Thank you for the question/comment. So once we have come to terms with our challenges in recruitment, initially the programs always begin and we have to build trust with the students, even if they are coming from a prior program. So Shakira, can you tell us a little bit more about what that looks like when we're building that trust?
Yes. Trust building with the youth is one of, if not the most important part of the whole process with our youth programs. We usually, in the first session of any program that we have, do trust building activities with the youth, starting with fun and simple icebreakers and introduction activities. We do icebreakers such as the one we did today to get you thinking not only about the world, but changes they would like to see in their communities. As part of our mission is to equip neighbors in historically marginalized communities to realize their vision for their communities. We also have other icebreakers such as bucket lists, hopes and fears, and many other one-question icebreakers that are thought-provoking. Before our icebreakers, we usually go one by one and state our name and a fun fact about ourselves to the group. This way, the youth may start to feel comfortable with the group and may learn that they have similar interests with each other. Whether the program is in person, like ARCA, virtual, like Year, or hybrid for the most part, with some in person sessions, like the Youth Leadership Fellowship, we will start these activities for the purpose of building relationships between youth and their peers and between youth and the staff. We also focus on making sure that the youth feel comfortable in any program that they participate in. Because if the youth don't feel comfortable, they won't have the opportunity to express themselves creatively, as they won't want to fully participate in our programs and show up as their full selves.
Excellent. Yes. So I guess we can go in order of questions. So this was the initial question that was asked to us prior to the session starting. At each first Wednesdays, if this is your first time joining us, or if you just happen not to know, we always offer our email inbox open to you all to ask questions that our presenters can consider before the presentation even begins. So this is one that we received in our email inbox, and the question was, how do you engage youth in public health? So I'll turn that over here.
I haven't really heard anything about public health coming from the youth, so I really don't engage them in public health, but that's something that I could consider doing in the future.
Yeah, and it's an interesting question. It kind of got the organizers the first Wednesday, as well as the youth leadership team, thinking exactly maybe we don't have enough information to really even answer this question to begin with. So like when you're saying public health, what kind of information are you referring to? Because we feel that you can kind of relay most things to public health. For example, the way safety and tension between the Black and the Latina community is being addressed through our ARCA program, and the way that we are informing and then engaging the youth around feeling more empowered with their when it comes to housing and eviction status and things of that nature. So I see Mr. Les' hand is up. Can you hear us, Mr. Les? I don't think she can hear us yet. But while we're still
Also,
troubleshooting that,
I'll add a little bit about the public
yeah,
health part, or the question that we got. And one of the first things I would suggest doing is like, what are the youth interested in? Like, what are, I'm thinking like teens or preteens interested in, so just in general. And then a lot of times it's easy to relate those things to public health. Like, is it related to sexual health and STIs? And like that could be an uncomfortable topic to talk about with teens, but it's like probably an important one that you have to address. Or is it about housing stability and like how does housing influence public health? Is it the social determinants of health, right? And so there's just a lot of different avenues. And so the first thing you would recommend doing, you guys, meet with them, listening to the team to figure out like what are you all interested in, and then being able to relate back to public health for them. I want to go back on you, but I see Leah's hand up. My dog is about to go bananas. 1 second.
No, I was just gonna say that from the public health perspective, I think everything that Dana said makes a lot of sense. And when also to piggyback a little bit and maybe give some more context to Peace's comment about public health. And for those who have not, I've not introduced myself. My name is Leah Whitehurst Gibson, and I'm the executive director for Virginia Community Voice. And early on, before being able to hand all the youth work over to this amazing team, I was really deeply involved. Originally, the reason we started the youth programming that we have now was a response to the community saying that they wanted to have some when they talked about community safety, they were thinking about the youth being safe, right? And we know in our community, there's lots of issues with youth being safe from all kinds of things, gun violence, even just making sure that they have things to do to add to their ability to thrive. And so when we think about public health as a larger conversation, that's really why we started all of our youth programming in the beginning, is to give space for youth to create, for youth to engage, for youth to have safe spaces to talk, to have other safe adults in their life. As we mentioned, Ham and Alfonso are incredible with the youth. Shakirah is incredible and falls into that demographic herself. When we think about youth, we go, I think, from 16 to 24. So we have in general, like a really incredible youth team. And so when you think about public health as a larger conversation, this program was really in response to the community saying, we want to make sure that our youth are safe. And part of how we do that is having spaces for them to have creative outlets. And so that's maybe a little bit more context to how we even started these programs in the first place, to respond to the community saying, we want to focus on and prioritize the health of our youth. So that's just one thought there too.
Thanks, Leah. I appreciate you adding that in, and Dana as well. And then, well, so I wanted to do two things. Let me finish. I was just seeing if the individual that sent the question was with us today, and I don't think they are, to see if we answered the question. But we can follow up with them in another form. So the second question that we'll answer is, what is the best way to reach teenagers and preteens? Shakirah, can you share some of your tips?
The best way I found to reach teenagers and preteens is through text and email. Our age range for our programs is 14 to 24, so I may not reach out to preteens, but I do know that reaching out to their parents via text, phone call, and email is the best way to reach them. For our teenagers and young adults, we found that text is the best way to reach out to teenagers, and both email and text message works for young adults.
Great. All right, and then I'll go to the chat. The first question I believe we had is, will the presentation be shared? And so I lifted that up, and I would like to ask Shakirah, this is like her brainchild. So Shakirah, how do you feel about sharing your info?
It can be shared. I don't mind.
Excellent. So we can send out a follow-up email, the same way you all got notifications, and the PowerPoint will be attached.
That's it. And then we'll put it on the website in case anyone didn't sign up to get the emails. And so you can also find it on the website underneath this month's first Wednesday. We'll do that after this.
Thank you, Dana. And then the last question I have here, but you all are still more than welcome to put questions in the chat, is I would be interested in seeing the types of questions you use in post-completion surveys. So that's something that we would have to dig into the Google Drive for. But I'm trying to think.
I did.
Pardon?
I dug in while
you did it
y'all were talking.
already.
I did. Okay, I did. Okay. So,
I'll turn it over to you.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay, so what we're really interested in finding out from youth is like not only about like what did you like about the program, what would you change about the program, which are like pretty standard questions I feel like for any sort of like post-completion survey, but we really want to understand like, did you feel represented in this program, right? Did you see yourself reflected in this program? Do you feel like you had like that when you gave a suggestion, your voice was heard when doing this program? And so some of the questions that we asked specifically about that are, do you think, or did you think the space was reflective of you? Why or why not? And so in our most recent ARCA program, and what we like to do with our ARCA program in general, is we have both Black and Hispanic students. And so thus can be two very different cultures, because some of our Hispanic participants are newly arrived. They don't always speak English as well. And so it's really important for us that both Black students feel represented in the space and Hispanic students feel represented in the space. And so when we ask, like, do you think the space is reflective of you, we want to make sure that they feel comfortable and can be their whole selves in the space that we're creating for them. And so sometimes it's not like, do you think the space is reflective of you? Why or not? But it's like, did you feel comfortable coming to this program? Did you not? And then a lot of times to get an honest answer from folks, you have to really do that beginning trust building, because a lot of times people will just say, yeah, this was great, thanks so much, because A, they're getting paid, at least in our programs, and B, like they don't want to tell someone who's like a figure of authority, like kids might not feel comfortable, I don't say kids, youth might not feel comfortable saying the actual truth. And so even before getting to the evaluation point, or to the point where you're trying to find out these questions, like the space has to be set up where there's like really good trust amongst youth and participant, or youth and the people running the program. And then we also ask, how did you see yourself using your voice to create change for the future? This was for our ARCA program. And so like another way you could ask this is like, what do you see, or how do you see yourself using what you learned here in the future? What's one thing that will stick with you? As like a funny aside, one of the students said mosquito bites, which is hilarious. And like true, so true. Virginia has some big mosquitoes, right? And then again, what did you like? What would you like to change? What would make you excited to be involved again? And then we don't just collect these responses and like take them and forward them. We also really do use them to implement changes for our next round of programming. And so some students last year for ARCA said it was really hot. It was like very hot to do this program in the summer, and they got mosquito bites, right? And so this year we're doing it in the fall, so that way it's not quite as hot. But we're gonna have all of the same things that they did like, but we are changing the program timing so that way we're not dying in the summer heat. So Renata, did that answer your question? We can have, and like we also, as like another side note, used to do like pre and post surveys, but also sometimes that doesn't work because there's survey fatigue, and also youth like don't take it seriously, even though you're just trying your best to be like, we want to make this program better for you, please answer it honestly. They just don't care, and that's fine, they don't have to care about it. And so also not just surveys, but talking with them, we get a lot of really good responses and just information about our programs by just chatting with them casually to be like, hey, what did you like about today? What did you not like? What would you want to change? Or just letting them come to us as well. So a combination of things. So message me if you want more. I'll put my email in chat. Thanks. And if anyone else has suggestions about questions that they have used, please share, or like techniques that they've used, please share, because we are not like the final authority on this. We would love to hear what you all have to say as well. And other questions?
I think that was about 7 seconds. So if we can go to the next slide, I know Shakirah has her information available as well if anyone wants to follow up with her. And then we have in the chat, this was great. Thank you all for great insight and some new ideas along the way. You're very welcome. And again, we're just really happy that you all were willing and able to spend your time with us. And we hope you come back for the next first Wednesdays. We still have a little bit of time if you have lingering questions. Otherwise, enjoy your week.
Bye, guys. Thank you.